everyone, especially to our instructor. By the way, my name is Climary Magdrayo, BS Grade 3, Section D. For today's video, my topic is Chapter 6 to 8. Chapter 6, Drugs. Drugs is chemical substance that brings about physical, physiological, behavioral, and psychological change in a person taking it. So, medical drugs. Medical drugs is a substance when taken into the human body cures illness and or relieves signs, symptoms of disease. Next is dangerous drugs. Dangerous drugs as a substance affecting the central nervous system, which when taken into the human body brings about physical, emotional, or behavioral change in a person taking it. So next is drug abuse. Any non-medical use of drugs that cause physical, psychological, legal, economic, or social damage to the user or to people affected by the user's behavior. So, classification of drugs. 1 is natural drugs. Next is synthetic drugs. So, natural drugs. What is natural drugs? Natural drugs are active ingredients, secondary metabolic products of plants and other living systems that may be isolated by extraction. For example, raw opium, marijuana, hookah bush. Next is synthetic drugs. Are artificially produced substance synthesized in the laboratory for the elite market, which are almost wholly manufactured from chemical compounds and illicit laboratories. And for example, methamphetamine. Next is barbiturates. So, according to legal classification, under RA 9165, otherwise known as the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2000, the term prohibited and regulated was changed into dangerous drug in the following classification. Next is immediate precursors. A chemical substance used in the clandestine manufacturing process becomes incorporated in full or in part in the final molecules of a substance under international control. 2. Essential chemicals. Chemical substance and used as reagent of or solvent in the illegal manufacture of controlled substances. Number 3. Narcotic, psychotropic, and designer. So, according to internal classification, A. Narcotic substance, B. Psychotropic substance, C. Designer drugs. And also, according to pharmacological classification effects, A. Stimulants, B. Hallucinogens, C. Depressants, D. Inhalants. So, stimulants are drugs which increase alertness of physical disposition. For example, amphetamine. So, Street name, eye opener, lead proppers, pip pills, uppers, and hearts. So, what is it? So, reduce appetite, relieves mental depression, comfort, fatigue, and sleepiness. So, how taken? Orally or table or capsule. Effects: general weakness, wakefulness, increase alertness, initiative. So, dangers: depends, overdose, violence, bizarre behavior. For example, shabu, metam methamphetamine, hydrochloride. Hydrochloride. So, street name, poor man's cocaine, shabs, obas, siupaw, sha, ice. So, what is it? White odorless crystalline powder with bitter numbing taste. How taken? Ingestion, inhalation, chasing the dragon, sniffing, injection, smoke. So, yung effects ani is general anxiety, irritability, irrational behavior, and long-term psychosis similar to schizophrenia, difficulty in concentrating, loss of interest in sex. So, physical: chest pain, irregular heartbeat, hypertension, convulsion, death. Dangerous: injection from contaminated needles may lead to risk of infections, phlebitis, leprosy, AIDS, and hallucinogens are drugs which are affect sensation, thinking, self-awareness, and emotion. So, for example, ecstasy. Street name, XTC, Adam Essence E. Herbals. How taken? Shallowing and hallucination. Effects: exaggerated emotions makes HR and BP hike up. Dries and mouth, stiffens arms, legs, jaw, dilates pupils, or the eyes causes faintness, chills, sweating, and nausea. So, dangerous. It can really kill. And example of dangerous: lysergic acid, diethylamide. So, street name is Lucy in the Sky with diamonds, wedding bells, acid, white sugar, lightning cubes, brain eaters. So, what is it? It is a semi-synthetic alkaloid substance extracted from a fungus which grows on wheat and other grains, odorless, tasteless, colorless. So, iyang effect ani is vivid hallucinations, confusions, blurring, and distinction between conscious and unconscious thought. Next is types of depressants. 1. Narcotics. So what is narcotics? Narcotics are drugs which induce sleep, hypnotics, or stupor and relieve pain. So, something that soothes or causes a sensation of mental numbness. Next is, this includes opium, opiates, heroin, morphine, and codeine. Next, number 2 is tranquilizers. Tranquilizers, a substance that reduces anxiety, ease tension, and relax muscles. So, sedatives and hypnotics. Sedatives and hypnotics calm the nerves, reduce tension, and induce sleep. So, for example, barbiturates, alcohol. Muna siya yung example. Barbiturates, alcohol. Number 3, inhalants. These are any liquid, solid, or mixed substance that has the property of releasing toxic vapors or fumes. For example, solvent, glue, gasoline, kerosene, paint, thinner, naphthalene. So, what are considered dangerous drugs? Dangerous drugs is a substance affecting the central nervous system, which when taken into the human body brings about physical, emotional, or behavioral change in a person taking it. So, it is a substance which when taken into the human body alters mood, perception, feeling, and behavior. So, under Republic Act 6425, otherwise known as the Dangerous Drugs Act of 1972, dangerous drugs are classified into 3 main categories, namely. So, there are 3 So dangerous drugs are classified into 3 main categories, namely prohibited drug, next is regulated drug, next is volatile substance. So what is prohibited drugs? So, which include opium and its active components and derivatives such as heroin, and morphine. Coca leaf and its derivatives, principally cocaine, alpha and beta eucaine, hallucinogenic drugs such as mescaline, lysergic acid, diethylamide, and other substances producing similar effects. So next is regulated drugs. So what is regulated drug? Which include in self-inducing sedatives such as secobarbital, phenobarbital, barbital, amobarbital, and any other drug which contains a salt or derivative of a salt or barbituric amphetamine such as benzedrine or dexedrine, or any drug which produces a psychological action similar to amphetamine. So next is volatile substance. So what is volatile substance? Volatile substance is liquid, solid, or mixed substance having the property of releasing. So, toxic vapors or fumes or any chemical substance which when sniffed, smelled, inhaled, or introduced into the psychological system of the body produce induce a condition of intoxication, inhibition, excitement, stupefaction. So, in Republic Act 1965, otherwise known as the Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002, gives a single definition for prohibited and regulated drugs. The old law defines the term dangerous drugs as pertaining to either prohibited drug or regulated drug. So, one is drug dependence. So, drug dependence means a state of psychic or physical dependence or both on a dangerous drug arising in a person following administration or use to that drug on a periodic or continuous basis. So, characteristics of drug dependency. 1. Physical dependence. So, physical dependence, the body's physical system changes until the body needs that particular drug in order to function. 2. Mental or psychological dependence, a need of drug in order to feel good, to get by or feel normal. So what is use? Use is refers to the act of injecting intravenously or intramuscularly or of consuming, either by chewing, smoking, snifing, eating, swallowing, drinking, or otherwise introducing into the psychological system of the body any of the dangerous drugs. So, what is seal? Seal means the act of giving a dangerous drug, whether for money or any other material consideration. So, question: what happens to confiscated, seized, and surrendered dangerous drugs, plant source of dangerous drugs, controlled precursors, and essential chemicals, instrument, paraphernalia, and or laboratory equipment? So, the answer is the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency or PDEA shall have custody of all dangerous drugs. Plant sources of dangerous drugs, controlled precursors, and essential chemicals, as well as instruments, paraphernalia, and or laboratory equipment that are confiscated, seized, and or surrendered. So, next is Chapter 7. Examination of dangerous drugs. So, drug testing is a form of forensic testing. So, drug test results issued should be scientifically, legally, and forensically defensible. So, what is drug identification? Drug identification is a branch of forensic chemistry that deals with the scientific examination of drugs and volatile substances. So, forms of dangerous drugs. Drugs are in various forms. This includes tablets, capsules, liquid, powder, brick or dicks, or marijuana, crushed leaves, and uprooted plants. So, A. Examination of the sample taken from the Confiscated dangerous drugs. So, methods. Methods of examination. 1. Qualitative examination. 2. Quantitative examination. So, steps common to quantitative, qualitative, and quantitative methods. There is 8 steps common to qualitative and quantitative methods. 1 is selection of method to be used. 2. Physical test. 3. Sampling. 4. Sample preparation. 5. Chemical test. 6. Confirmatory examination. 7. Calculation and interpretation of dates. And last is 8. Drawing of conclusion and writing report. So, 2 phases in the examination of the alleged confiscated dangerous drugs. 1 is screening test or preliminary test, is also known as the color test. So, this test is non-specific and preliminary in nature. So, it is employed to reduce the family or group of drug to a small and manageable number. So, color reactions. Upon additional of specific reagents to a sample of dangerous drugs, a specific color reaction is produced, such as cannabis, the quinones leaving violet, fast blue, bee salt, purple, and red. So, cocaine, cobalt, thiocyanate test or CT test, blue Scott test or modified CT test. So Wagner test, brown, specific test for cocaine. So Daily Compianti test and reddish purple for barbiturates. So note, it must be noted that positive results of this test are not conclusive, as there are substances that may give same positive color reaction upon addition of the specific reagents. Hence, confirmatory test must be performed by the forensic chemist. So, chemical officer on case to establish the presence and identification of dangerous drug. So, it must also be noted that only those specimens that yielded presumptive positive results are subject to confirmatory test in order to confirm and the positive result of the screening test is really positive. So, number 2 is confirmatory test. Confirmatory test is the method employed to confirm the results of the screening preliminary test. This test involves the application of an analytical producer to identify the presence of a specific drug or metabolites. This is independent of the screening test and which uses techniques and chemical principles principles are different from that or the initial test in order to ensure reliability and accuracy. So, what is chromatography? So, chromatography is the process of separating mixture and comparing the migration of each component with standard. Some chromatographic techniques include gas gas chromatographic, then layer chromatography, and high pressure liquid chromatography. So what is gas? What is gas chromatography? So it is a separated technique or the mobile phase in a gas is a gas. Next is separation is based on the different and migration rates among simple components. So spectro- spec- spectroscopy. Spectroscopy, a confirmatory method whereby light is used to identify the sample specimen. So next is ultraviolet visible spectroscopy, used for screening of dangerous drugs in urine specimen. Examination of the urine specimen, the rate of excrete from the body depends on the drug's solubility and fat. So water soluble drugs such as cocaine are excreted quickly, while fat soluble drugs such as marijuana may take several weeks or months before excretion. So, validity test for urine specimen. So, validity test is conducted to determine the integrity of the samples. So, there are two reasons for conducting validity test. One is in case of an unobserved urine collection. Two, when there is suspicion that the urine specimen has been tempered. So, instances when to allow unobserved urine specimen collection. One is when donor is physically unable to go to the laboratory. Next is when donor is involved in a crime scene. Next is when donor is involved in post-accident trauma. And last, when donor is critically ill. So, there are different types of tampered urine specimen. 1. Adulterated. So, what is adulterated? Adulterated a specimen containing either a substance that is not a normal constituent for the type of specimen or containing an endogenous substance at a concentration that is not a normal psychological concentration. Next is diluted. Refers to a specimen with less than normal psychological constituents. Next is substituted. What is substituted? A specimen which has been derived through switching or replacement of the original samples. So, there are 5 ways to adulterate urine samples. 1 is additional of salt. 2. Additional of juice. 3. Additional detergent. And 4. Additional of bleach and other oxidizing adulterants. So, next is, there are 2 ways to substitute a urine sample. 1. Urine from friends or other persons not using drugs may be used as substitute specimen. 2. Replace sample with other substance similar to urine in appearance. So, ways to dilute a urine specimen. 1. Letter A is internal dilution. So, intake of plenty of water before collection or drinking or herbal. B. External dilution. So, additional of water to previously collected urine. Next is parameters for validity test. So, there are 6 essential validity tests. 1. Physical characteristics such as color, odor. 2. Volume. And 3. Temperature. 4. pH. 5. Specific gravity. And last is nitrates. And there are 8 confirmatory validity tests. 1. Physical characteristics such as a color, odor, or volume, mora gyapon. So, ang nakalahi lang ani is ang nakadugang lang ani is creatinine and oxidizing agents. Next is other methods for confirmatory validity tests. 1 is physical characteristics visually determined. 2. Volume same as physical characteristics. 3. Temperature using thermometer. And 4. Meter calibrated with appropriate buffers. Last is specific gravity. Specific gravity, use a refractometer. So, Chapter 8. Chapter 8. Gunshot residue. So, basically, gunshot residue comes from the powder component of bullet. Elements from cartridge, cases, and gun barrel where the bullet passes. So, when these components are burned, certain products of combustion are formed, which includes partially burned and unburned particles. So, components of gun residue. 1 is primer or lead residue. 2. Gunpowder residue. And 3. Element component from cartridge cases residues. So, composition of primer elements may be easier to detect in residues because they not get as hot as that of powder. So, composition of of gunpowder. 1 contains up to 23 organic compounds. FBI study. So no, and number 2, nitrosi nit, nitrocellulose nitrocellulose is virtually always present along with nitrate and nitrogen containing compounds such as diphenylamine or PDA stabilizer in the powder. So, there are 3 types of gunpowder. 1 single base, 2 double base, and 3 triple base. So, 1 single base. Single based when the basic ingredients is nitrocellulose. 2 double base. Nitrocellulose plus 1 to 40% nitroglycerin, and number 3 triple base. Nitrocellulose plus nitroglycerin plus nitroguanidine. So, this can be differentiated using a mass spectrophometer. So, composition of cartridge case, bullet coating, and metal jacket. 1 cartridge and primer cases, brass, copper, zinc. 2 bullet course, lead, antimony, and few iron only. 3 bullet jackets, brass, copper, zinc, some are iron or aluminum alloy. Some contain nickel. So, gunshot residue examination. So, ang purpose is gunshot residue examinations are performed to help the investigators in determining whether a person has discharged a firearm or not, whether or firearm was discharged or not, and the possible gunshot range or the distance of the shooter to the victim. So, next is types of powder used in the ammunition of small firearms. There are 2 types of powder used in the ammunition of small firearms. These are 1 black powder and 2 smokeless powder. So, 1 black powder. Black powder is consists of a mixture of carbon, sulfur, and potassium nitrate. This mixture is used as an igniter in smokeless gun propellant. It consists of a mixture of 15% charcoal, 10% sulfur, and 75% potassium nitrates. Next is smokeless powder. Smokeless powder, this mixture consists of cellulose or glycerol nitrate combined with some stabilizers, nitrobenzene or graphite nitrates, dichromate, and oxalates. When this powder explodes, the chemical reaction takes place. So, premiers. To explode a low explosive flame is required in guns. The flame is applied by means of a premier produce flame or percussion. A typical premier consists of a case containing an initiating explosive such as mercury, fulminate, an oxidizing agent such as potassium chlorate or barium nitrate, and a fuel such as antimony sulfide. So, detection of gunshot residue. The following are common methods used by most crime laboratories to detect gunshot residue. 1. Paraffin test. 2. Lead residue detection limit up to 30 feet and always present on the opposite sides of the penetrated target. So, reported from intermediate glass target present Misler and Armstrong 1978. So number 3, gunpowder residue examination detection limit highly variable up to 20 cm and up to 21 inches is common. The last two methods are classical color development or modern methods such as neutron activation analysis NAA, atomic absorption spectrophotometry AES, scanning electron microscopy with energy dispersive analysis CEM, and EDA and inductively coupled plasma with mass spectrophometry ICP-MS are used. So, history of paraffin testernal entrate or depenylamine test. So, paraffin test was originated from Cuba when Gonzalo Ichurius first used paraffin for collecting gunpowder residues from discharged firearms. In 1933, Teodoro Gonzalez of Criminal Identification Laboratory, Mexico City introduced by the test in the United States. In this test, the hands were coated with a layer of melted paraffin. So, after cooling, the case were removed and treated with depenylamine 5% TPA and 60% sulfuric. So, what is principle behind the preference test? So, well, the burned and partially burned particles gunpowder residue is deposited on the target and in the barrel of the gun. Some of this burned and partially burned particles may escape around the breech of the gun, and some may be embedded on the exposed surface of the hands of the person discharging the firearms. So, taking of paraffin Cascades. Material and apparatus. Paraffin wax and absorbent cotton and bond paper, burner, breaking or casserole, and tongue. That's all. Thank you.